should deny the bond modification for several reasons. First, the defendant is facing multiple serious pending charges, multiple F2s involving serious physical harm to her children, and thus is a flight risk and a potential risk to the victims in this case. Second, the defendant has filed a competency motion. Consequently, she is at personal risk until her competency is known. Third, the defendant has new serious felony
charges that will be considered by the grand jury. That sentence from Prosecutor William Archer's memorandum is the kind of line that makes you rewind and listen again.
But the prosecutor says Elizabeth should stay put. I'll tell you all of the reasons why. I'm Anjanette Levy, and this is Crime Fix.
Not because it's complicated, because it's simple. And simple in a case like this is terrifying. Picture a house on Ohm Street in Vinton County, Ohio. 16 children live there. 16. Ranging from 18 years old down to 18 months. Now imagine the house itself not as a home but as a vault. A vault with windows blacked out, doors locked from the outside. A place where childhood went in and never came out. That's the visual anchor. That's what we're dealing with. And the prosecutor just told the judge that the woman who ran that vault isn't just facing the 16 counts we already know about.
Elizabeth Ciders has been in jail since June 30th, going on 2 months now, and she wants out. Who wouldn't? Elizabeth's attorney has asked the judge to modify her bail, but the prosecutor has now responded in writing, and William Archer is essentially saying, not so fast, Judge. Keep her in. And his reasons for that are interesting.
There's more. There's always more. Before we go deeper into what the documents actually show, make sure you're subscribed to Endless Crime. Because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. Elizabeth Ciders has been in the Southeast Ohio Regional Jail since June 30th, 2 months. She wants out. Her attorney Tommy Stalley asked the judge to modify her bail, let her out on a GPS bracelet. She has no money to post the $300,000 anyway. And on paper, that sounds reasonable. She's not a flight risk if she's broke, right? Wrong. Prosecutor William Archer filed a written response. And his response isn't just a no. It's a no with receipts. 3 reasons, he says. Reason 1, she's facing multiple felony 2s involving serious physical harm to her children. Flight risk. Reason 2, her own lawyer filed a competency motion. She's at personal risk until that's resolved. Reason 3, and this is the one that changes everything, she has new serious felony charges that will be considered by the grand jury. Not might be, not could be, will be. And here's the irony explosion. When Archer filed the same opposition for Christina Ciders, Elizabeth's mother, in law, he didn't mention new charges at all. Just the existing ones. Just the child endangering. So why does Elizabeth get that extra paragraph? What did she do that grandma didn't? The state is not asking for temporary custody.
Jury, because they typically have 60 days from the time it's bound over to the grand jury, and they've already consumed, probably a month maybe. In any event, they need to start getting the case together to present to the grand jury. And at that point, we will see what additional charges that have been waved around are included in the indictment.
Ron, you read my mind because that was going to be my next question to you. When do you see this case going to grand jury? Because it's been quite a bit of time now. Is this a case where maybe they only want to go once? They don't want to have to go back to the grand jury, on a continuing basis?
I think that's exactly right. I think they want to have what they are going to proceed on included in the single indictment against all defendants, and include all counts against each individual defendant. And they have a clock, at least under the rules of superintendents, of 60 days from the time a case is bound over from municipal court to common pleas court. And in this case, they're probably close to 40 anyhow, or more.
That's the moral refrain. Say it with me. The state is not asking for temporary custody. In a typical case, you start with temporary placement. You investigate. You look at relatives. You see if there's a path back. But Vinton County went straight to permanent, right from the get-go. And that tells you everything about what the prosecutors believe they have. The state is not asking for temporary custody. They don't think reunification is in the children's best interest. Not now. Not ever. Elizabeth's own lawyer says she loves her kids. She wants to be reunited with them. She's getting care packages in jail and asking if she can send them to her children. But the prosecutor isn't buying it. He's listening to her jail calls.
He's going to ask the grand jurors to indict her on new charges. So that makes me think this is in addition to those 16 child endangering charges. What does that say to you? Because I don't know what other charges. My mind is spinning. What other charges could Elizabeth Ciders face aside from child endangering?
Well, that was the most striking thing in the memo that the state filed opposing reduction in bond. And I think it's showing some cards to the public as well as to defense counsel that look, you're looking at child endangering cases, but there's more coming and it's more serious. And that is also why she might try and flee. And that's also why she might try and reach her children to talk to them, to influence them one way or another in what their statements may be in relating to the endangering children, but any other offenses that may have occurred while.
He knows what she's saying to family members, and he's arguing that if she gets out, she's a risk to the victims. The victims being her own 16 children. Think about that for a second. She's accused of hiding them, neglecting them, causing serious physical harm. The state has taken permanent custody, and the prosecutor is worried she'll try to find them. Not because he's paranoid, because he knows something we don't. You know the booking video from June 30th.
From the house on June 30th. We know that that 3 of the adults remain in jail. The children are in therapeutic foster care. This prosecutor knows a whole heck of a lot more than we do. He knows the inner workings of the investigation, what brought them there in the first place. He is calling Elizabeth a flight risk. Her attorney, on the other hand, has said that she doesn't have any money. She can't post bail, so you should just let her out and put a GPS bracelet on her. So is there maybe something this prosecutor is hearing on jail calls that she's might be saying to family members that's really raising his concern that she could potentially flee?
Well, I'm quite sure he's listening to any jail calls by her as well as the others. They're permitted to do that and have a big sign next to the jail telephone that the calls are monitored. Typically, they don't listen to phone calls between the defendant and their own lawyer, but if
Sure.
he's on there talking to family or friends, they are picking that up. Interesting that he also.
Elizabeth was the only family member who wasn't handcuffed, and her body language was completely different from her husband's, from her in-laws. She cowered. Her shoulders were rounded. She was hunched over. She seemed scared. Not defiant, not angry, scared. And that made people wonder, was she a victim too? Her lawyer said she didn't consider herself a victim, but he was looking into that possibility, and the prosecutor. He was asked the same question at a press conference. His answer, according to her attorney, she's not a victim. That's it. That's all he said. He didn't disagree. He didn't agree. He just let her lawyer speak for her. But here's the thing. He's not treating her like a victim. He's treating her like a flight risk. A risk to the children. A defendant facing new felony charges. So what are those charges?
It wasn't just one discrete child endangering where a mother burned a child on the arm, and that's the basis for the single child endangering. This went on for years, where they weren't sent to school, where they were locked up, that they weren't allowed out, that their life was very much restricted. All those things add up to an equation of a long standing neglect and abuse that below the radar should add up to something more than what we know.
I don't know what other charges she could be facing. I don't want to speculate here, but I think that, it goes without saying, the prosecutor's already publicly said, these children were hidden.
I wish I could tell you, but the prosecutor isn't saying. Not yet. Ron O'Brien, a former prosecutor from Franklin County.
William Archer also said that Elizabeth is a potential risk to the victims in this case. Now, these potential victims, the 16 children ranging in age from age 18 to 1.5, they're all in therapeutic foster care. So, you would hope that, she's not going to be able to learn their location since she is accused of endangering the children. But this is interesting to me that the a prosecutor thinks she's a potential risk to their safety after her lawyer, Tommy Stolley, has said publicly, like, she wants to be reunited with her children. She loves her children. She's getting care packages at the jail, and she's asking, can I give this stuff to my kids? So
Told us the grand jury will likely hear this case before Labor Day. They've got a 60-day clock from when the case was bound over. They're already past 40 days. And the prosecutor wants to present everything in one single indictment, all charges against all defendants, which means whatever those new charges are, they're going to be revealed soon. And here's the ticking clock moment. What do you do when you're facing decades in prison and you know the state is coming for your children permanently? Do you wait for trial, or do you find a way to disappear? The prosecutor is betting on the latter. That's why Elizabeth Ciders is staying in jail. That's why he's opposing her bond modification. Because he doesn't think she'll stick around, and he doesn't think the children are safe if she does. The state is not asking for temporary custody. That's the third time I've said it, and I'll keep saying it because it matters. It tells you that this case isn't about poverty. It isn't about a family that fell on hard times. The defense attorneys have said that. They're just poor. They're living in extreme poverty. But the prosecutor isn't buying that either. Because poverty doesn't explain hiding children for years. Poverty doesn't explain locking them in a small room. Poverty doesn't explain no school.
when asked by a local TV station whether Elizabeth Ciders was a victim, her lawyer, Tommy Stolley, said Elizabeth didn't consider herself a victim, but he was still looking into that possibility. Here's what Prosecutor William Archer said when asked whether Elizabeth was a victim at a press conference back on July 8th.
According to her attorney, she's not a victim. So we'll let him decide how he wants to address his representation of her.
So it doesn't appear at this point.
No freedom, a life so restricted that the prosecutor himself calls them the hidden children of Ohm Street. This wasn't one incident, a burned arm, a single act of neglect. This went on for years.
There's not going to be any reunification. If the county is saying to the courts, we're seeking permanent custody of these children, I think that is signaling that this is incredibly serious and reunification is unlikely.
I think you're exactly correct. This case, ordinarily, this kind of case, even though this is a case of its own, exclusive kind, a case like this starts with a request for temporary custody to children's
Correct.
services, either on an emergency basis or otherwise. And then you do an investigation, you see what you have, and then you look at the family unit and look at relatives or others that the child might be placed at. But here they're starting off right from the get-go, seeking permanent custody, which again, as you say, says to everyone concerned that we don't think reunification with the parents of these children, the way they've been treated, is ever going to be in the best interest of those children.
A pattern, a lifetime of abuse. And now we're finding out there might be more. More than 16 counts of child endangering, more than serious physical harm.
Let me tell you, running a business is really tough, but why make it harder doing things manually or relying on dozens of apps that don't talk to each other? That's where our sponsor, Odoo, comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management platform with a full suite of integrated apps that seamlessly connect all of your operations, from sales and accounting to manufacturing and even shipping. Odoo can automatically generate professional, sleek-looking sales orders, invoices, and vendor bills. And it can automatically assign sales teams, send email updates through each sales stage, and even uses AI to pull reports that help with your decision making. For manufacturing, their apps can sync inventory with real-time production and purchase updates, so you never run out of stock. And when it comes time for accounting, that's also fully automated. Odoo can create invoices, track expenses, and even summarize data with AI to save you hundreds of hours. The best part? You can choose your apps and even build custom workflows, so it's all fully tailored to your business's needs. Take your business to the next level by consulting with an Odoo expert today for free at odoo.com/crimefix.
What could be more serious than that? So here's your call to research. Go to the Vinton County Common Pleas Court docket. Pull up the memorandum opposing bond modification. Read it yourself. And when you read that third reason, ask yourself, what could those new charges be? And why did the prosecutor only mention them for Elizabeth and not for anyone else? Drop your theories in the comments, because this case isn't over. It hasn't even really started. And when that grand jury hands down that indictment, we'll be right here breaking it down for you. If you want to follow the evidence as it unfolds, like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications for endless crime. Because the truth doesn't reveal itself. You have to go looking for it, and we always will.